things different. He was my shame, and I said goodbye. I said farewell. I took my hand.
Fuck. Alrighty. So, let's fix that right there. So, guys, welcome back to another review. We are going to be reviewing today South of Midnight, coming from Xbox Studios and Compulsion Games. Now, you've probably, if you're online, you've probably heard about the hate on this game. If you haven't played it, you might even be one of those people that are a follower and you believe this nonsense. Apparently it's DEI, it's woke, anything that's not, white and straight, that's what happens, right? And I was one of these people, because, there are things that are, for example, pushed upon you, a lot of race bending, stuff like that, especially in modern media. I do think that in the past, nobody gave a fuck, and somehow all of a sudden people care, like Kingpin and Daredevil was black in the movie. And then, we got Nick Fury being black. And now all of a sudden, they race change a character. It's like, whoa, somebody shot your fucking dog. And so here we are. The black man, once again, was pushed into a corner and was told, stop race changing. We're not racist. We're not sexist. Just make your own stories. And so what did Compulsion Games do? They said, bet. Hold my beer. Or my Pepsi, if you would. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I wish I was. They said, we are going to make an original black project about black Southern folklore, hitting back to home with folklore from Alabama, Mississippi, down south and stuff. Kind of give you that bayou feel of like you're in New Orleans and stuff. And, give you an original character, original story and stuff like that. And somehow, some way, it's still DEI and woke. Even though there is no characters to race change, there is no characters to sex change, anything like that. Like, it's literally original, and it's still a problem. And so here I am, trying to be the black savior. And come out here and tell you guys that I recommend this game for two sets of people. So there's going to be two sets of people out there. If you are on PC, if you are on Xbox and you have Game Pass for PC or Xbox, something like that, it's definitely not free, clearly, but if you already are paying for Game Pass, I definitely support this game. I said that you should go play it. I recommended it to a buddy of mine the other day. This shirt is fucking disheveled. I slept in it. And so I definitely recommend it for people like that, okay? And on the other end of the spectrum, I feel like if you are really wanting an original game with a beautiful story, gameplay, I'm going to talk about that later because some people are iffy on it. I was fine with it. But depending on how you like this review, depending on how you like the gameplay that I'm going to talk about, I think it's definitely worth it with it being at, I think, a $40 price tag. Or even wait for a sale. But at the same time, I still think that this year you should play this game. And so without further ado, let's go on and start covering these key points.
A bag, then pack, get like a pack, your bags, then pack, go like.
Starting off with the story. Oh, get a little tipsy. Woo! So this story stars a young girl named Hazel Flood. Hey, reminds me of Joe Flood from a movie that can't. Never mind, no one's going to that movie.
Too little for Joe Flood.
Anyways, Hazel Flood. She is basically surviving this hurricane that's going on. Her mama is late from work. Her mama comes home. They're packing her stuff. And while Hazel goes and checks on her two neighbors, her house gets washed away with her mom up in it. And so Hazel is going on this journey to find her mama, but not only that, but discover herself, because she learns that she is a weaver. And a weaver, basically, in layman's terms, without going on the Google, she has like these abilities, so that's where the combat comes in and stuff. And she's able to fight these haints, which are basically like southern kind of spirits and stuff like that. And she's able to kind of get rid of this rot, or they call it wither or something like that, whatever they call it. But basically get rid of like that and kind of like heal. And it's like she can see strands and ghosts and ghouls and like all kinds of stuff like that. And it's really cool. I really enjoyed the story. I feel like where the story ends, I really enjoyed it. This is kind of like a one and done where like they could make a sequel, but at the same time there's no cliffhangers, so you don't have to worry about that. I feel like going into the story, I kind of just expected some run of mill stuff, like just some whatever. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Like being from the South myself, dude, it was hitting so home. Like they talk about Huggin' Molly, for example, who comes from Alabama, and Two-Toe Tom, right? Stories I grew up hearing about as a child, okay? This shit's awesome, right? And I love how not only do they deal with the folklore, but like you get these boss fights with some of these characters, and just the way they're created is so cool because a lot of the designs are kind of like, if you've ever seen Spider-Verse, it's kind of like that 2D, kind of like, in and out, like staticky type of thing, which you get used to very quickly. And I really loved all the supporting characters. You basically meet this character named Catfish, who is a huge moving, talking catfish, and he is so fucking cool. He is definitely one of my favorite side characters in games, at least for, I want to say this year, probably last year too. He is just so fun, so funny. And I really feel like, it kind of just brings it closer to home, not only this Southern tale that they are telling, but also just the fact that, every time I keep seeing hate on this game, I ain't seeing nobody talk about this story, which I thought deals with a lot of crazy shit. Like you're dealing with, loss of parental figures, and like loss of people leaving you, for example. You're also dealing with, for example, like I'll give you one minor spoiler. There is one character that you meet. Actually, this is early on in the game, and you learn that his brother couldn't accept him for who he was. They kind of allude to the fact that he might have been on the spectrum, might have been autistic, something like that. And he couldn't accept that, and he was getting on his brother's nerves like that. And so he puts his brother into this tree, and he fucking like locks him in the tree, like he boards it up and shit. And the brother just stays there, and he can't get out, and he ends up starving to death. And it deals with some dark shit. Like this is one of many things. So I will give a warning out there. If you're not out there playing games like Doom and shit like that, and like you play your little Animal Crossings and stuff, this also might not be the game for you. But for me, it was just so beautiful. Like there was so many times, especially for example, if you're a fan of Death Stranding, you like how that music will kick in right at the right time. Music kicks in right at the right time. They've got so many good Southern singers out there singing their shit, doing what they need to be doing. And I just, oh my gosh, just chef's kiss. Like you'll be, for example, like when you're helping Homeboy from like the tree issue, just like the song that's playing it plays the right time. It has something to do with that. It is literally a song created for this game. And it's a hell of a soundtrack. So I do want to cover that as well. The soundtrack, oh my God, like even the end credits, like usually I don't watch the credits unless there's like an end credit scene, like as far as movies or something like that goes. But as far as games go, if you can't skip it, I usually sit there so I can take the disc out, whatever, cut it off or this and that. But for this, I was sitting there vibing. Dude, it's a hell of a soundtrack. And that's something else that I haven't seen many people talk about. They talk about how good the songs are, but just a few songs. No, every song in this game is a damn banger.
My ticket to hell.
And, that's why I want to tackle combat, because that's kind of the elephant in the room. I've seen a lot of people out there hate on the combat. Now, I will say this. I am easy to please. Is this going to be as good as the next Doom combat? No. Is this as fun as most of your third-person action games? No. Is it fine? Yeah. Is it cool? Is it nice whenever you do like these dodges and you're fighting these haints and stuff like that? Even like the boss fights, I feel like when they start getting repetitive on the boss fights, that's kind of like when they start ending, or they end. And so I don't think the bosses out there are welcome, but what it boils down to is that the combat, I feel like the issue with it is that you get a few key, like, I almost said weapons, but abilities. So you get like one where you can freeze somebody in time for like a few seconds, and that's able to get more damage off of them. You upgrade these abilities. You get this companion, this little cute companion named Crouton, who can possess a creature and help fight with you. And then you also get a force push and a force pull ability. Now, the force pull ability, I fully upgraded it to where when you hit somebody, as soon as you do that, you freeze them in time. So it's kind of like back and forth, like working with stuff. And, you know, you get some other abilities. Like you get like one that's kind of like a charge swing, like bang attack that kind of blows everybody away. And you get some really cool stuff out of it. I just feel like the creatures, like, for example, every, like, because there's 14 chapters in the game. So, like, every 3 to 4 chapters, they introduce, like, a new haint. And so, like, one can, like, kind of, like, put, like, a shield around some others. One, like, 2 of them's, like, really big, kind of, like, mini bosses. And then, like, the regular ones you always fight, there's, like, the ones that's, like, in, like, chapter 1. And I think there's another one. Yeah, there's another one, like, shoots out, like, little bees or whatever. And so, the whole time, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, wow, what a game, really loving it, but it is repetitive. So, there is that to let you know, because every time you go to somebody's house in this game, or, for example, like I was telling you about the guy in the tree or whatever, before you learn their story, you have to collect so much of their backstory, kind of like in a bottle. And it's really cool lore-wise, and you learn their story, this and that. But in order to do that, for example, let's say this is the area, right? And I'm talking to Catfish, and he's like, well, you better go get them stories, girl. And I'm like, yes, sir, Catfish. You go over here, and you fight a bunch of those haints, and then you unlock a memory. You're like, oh, shit, he didn't like his brother. Then you run all the way over here, and you're like, oh, shit, we fought a bunch of haints. Then it's like, okay. Now you learn that the hate for his brother grew and grew and grew, and something happened. Then you go over here, and this is kind of like where the final area is at, and then you get that final thing, and then once that happens, you kind of like get almost like a final boss, except there's only like a few bosses in this game. So I don't know if that would have worked better. I feel like each area ending with a boss would have probably helped it, especially if they were really cool and unique. But you only have like a few bosses in this game. And I feel like my main issue isn't even the gameplay itself. It is the final boss with this game. Because the final area of this game, I'm not spoiling it, it is so beautiful. It is so well crafted. I love it. The fucking music that plays, it is awesome. But that final boss is actually weak sauce. Because you have a final chapter, which you really think is a full final chapter, but there's no like boss fight in it, so it's basically kind of like an epilogue. I'm happy and I'm mad, because I'm happy that they didn't go across the grain, right? And I'm glad that they didn't, go by the book, because, for example, you learn that a character is kind of like lying about who they are and they're kind of evil. And most of the time in games or movies, when you find out this, the main character fights them in some kind of grand fashion. And this game's like, no, we're not going to do that. And so the boss that you do before this is the final boss, and it's really not a final boss because it's basically like a horde mode. So they just send out a bunch of haints for you to fight. And while I'm sitting there going, that's cool, as a final boss, that was kind of lame as fuck, considering the other final boss, or the other bosses, were, just kind of there where you could actually fight. Like, they were actually there. This dude's kind of like over there going, I want to summon these creatures, and like, as you fight these creatures and kill them, it's doing damage to like its health bar. And that, for me, was lame. That was where the game was like, okay, you dropping a few points for me, because this is fucking awful. Once again, combat I didn't think was awful. And the fight itself is fine. It's just as a final hoorah boss fight, I really was like, oh, that's it? I was like, that's it? That's all we doing? And so, I don't know. With that thought, though, that does not remove the rest of this game. The storylines, the side stories are absolutely amazing, well told. The world design, the fucking crafting of these characters, the looks, oh my god, chef's kiss. And honestly, the combat, while I didn't hate it, I am gonna, as a critic, can point out the flaws in it being repetitive. But at the same time, I feel like where people kept saying, oh, it's repetitive, it's boring, they also weren't talking about why it was repetitive. Because as you're learning these stories, I feel like that was pushing you through. It's not like a Mafia 3 where it's like, damn, you got to do 32,000 things in this area until you unlock a mission. Like, no, this was like literally do 3 of these like little mini fights while exploring this area and world. Because each section is kind of a new area. And so it's this new area, so you're already wanting to explore anyways, get some upgrades, stuff like that. And as you're doing that, you're learning about this new area you're in and about this lore for these people or whoever that you may or may not fight. And I thought that pushed it on because these fights last literally like 2 minutes. It's not anything that's going to last a long time. There's no like crazy BS where you're like fighting 100 dudes at a time, except for I guess the final boss. But overall, this is a hell of a game. And this is a game that I recommend if you have Game Pass, if you have PC Game Pass. And for once, this hasn't happened in a while, but this is also a game that I recommend. I guess Indiana Jones last year. This is a game that I recommend that if you don't have Game Pass, that you should go buy. Only if you're interested in this type of stuff. If you have no interest in Southern folklore, this and that, if you have no interest in it and you have Game Pass, there's no reason. Try it out. But if you have no interest, I don't say go out here and buy it because you might waste your money, especially if you don't like these stories. Because if you don't like the stories and they don't hit you like they were hitting me, and the gameplay's not hitting for you, you're going to think it's a bad game, right? But from playing it from a critic standpoint, I had a whole lot of fun. There was a lot of things that I really enjoyed about it, and it was just kind of funny, especially after seeing Sinners, which is a movie I really, really, really loved, that we don't get a whole lot of Southern folklore stories. Like, you get like a whole lot of stories in the South and like slavery and this and that, but you rarely get like a story where it's like, okay, these people are like dealing with Southern folklore and like talking about haints and like creatures and this and that, and like it being coming from black people. And so I thought that was really cool that we happened to get 2 within a span of like a couple weeks. And so that's also a knock on that. Go watch Sinners. That's a good ass movie. And so with that, I think I'm going to give South of Midnight a 8.5 out of 10. I really thought this game was solid, which is why I'm going to give it a seal of approval. It's only losing points for me because there is repetitive combat, and I really do think that the final boss kind of sucked balls. But without that, everything else is just absolutely masterclass. I love this game so much. And also because of how quick it is, because it's only about 8 hours. Never talked about the runtime, but it's about 8 hours, give or take. I think I beat it about 7. This game is definitely something that you can replay. I definitely see myself later on this year, if there's like a section of like a month or 2 where no games come out, maybe replaying this for sure. And with that, I hope that you guys take heed, take warning, be safe out there. Fucking go play South of Midnight. Have some fun. And with that, like, subscribe for more. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Pack a bag, then pack it like a pack. Your bags, then pack go like.